I'm on a road trip through Waimakariri in Hurunui region. I'm going north to see how the towns and businesses are doing. Along the way, I'm meeting some interesting people. The old history of Rangiora and Kaiapoi is being preserved by Larry Jameson, a film historian who immigrated from England and now calls North Canterbury home.
It was 4 years ago when I came to Kaiapoi and I got caught up in the earthquake. I didn't really want to come here in the first place, but once I got here I loved it, and I really do love Kaiapoi, and I wanted to be a part of it. And I thought, well, what's my best way of getting involved? And I thought, well, a good idea would be the job that I do. And I'd gone along to a meeting and I met a lady there and I told her what I did, and she suggested that I might be interested in looking at some old films and pictures they had. So I did. I got a call in from a man called Dale Brown, and he brought me over these films, the films that you can see here now, and I was quite fascinated by them. They really are, well, hidden history, I would say. Yes, hidden history. Here you see a film and a reel of audio tape. Many people in the past will remember they used to have tape recorders, and these reels would go on the tape recorder and they'd record their singing and things of that nature. And this is a reel of 16mm film. The more wealthy people had 16mm film, other people had the little 8mm projectors. What the person who shot these films, a man called Owen Hills, what he done, he shot the film on 16mm and then had the sound recorded on this tape, and then the two would be locked together in order to produce the production that you're seeing now. Well, this film is archive film, and obviously all film is archive film. It's just that some film is more valuable than others. For instance, a person that has lost their mother and they've got some home movie of their mother, that is archive film and it's very valuable to them. This particular film is of great historic value to the community, and when the film is finished with and it's all been digitalised, this film will actually go to the New Zealand Film Archives to be put into their storage vaults for some time in the future when we may change systems or something else like this. But the real point that I want to get across is that this is only one part of the film. We have many other shots in here. We have them of the Rotary Club, of Rangiora, of the various places in Canterbury, in Christchurch, that show these images and people, many of whom are still around, but some that have passed on, and these great wonderful processions and floats that they used to have. I would emphasise that this is only a part of a very, very massive collection of film that must lie all over Canterbury at the moment, and it would be very, very important to the museums, the archives and the archivists to get as much together as possible. Well, unfortunately, film is a deteriorating format, and it's deteriorating all the time. There's nothing we can do about it. As the film deteriorates more, it becomes vinegarized. In other words, when you pick it up, you can smell vinegar. The film then starts to shrink, and eventually it turns to dust. You could do nothing with it. So it's extremely important that if people have got film, they act now. In looking at the films, they've been fascinating for me because a lot of the things I've never seen before. I came here, I looked at Christchurch, I thought, oh, what a wonderful little town Christchurch is, and then we carried on looking for a house and things like that. And then, of course, the earthquake came. So therefore, I missed the beauties of seeing the real Christchurch exactly as it was and being able to enjoy it. So what I'm enjoying is seeing these wonderful historic buildings and places as they once were. But not only am I seeing it like that, I'm seeing how people actually enjoyed them and the fun they had, and watching people on the trams and things of that nature. So it's very, very interesting to me, and I'm sure that it'll be interesting to other people as they watch the films that are much, much younger than I am, to see how things were. We're all looking forward to our new towns and our new Christchurch, but preserving our past is very, very important, and that's what these films do. I reckon that we've got round about 6 hours of consistent, good colour footage, and that is very important. Mr. Hills, when he made the films, he had a lady, could have been his wife, I really don't know, making a soundtrack on the side. So what the soundtrack does is give a guide as to what was going on and where it was. The commentary that has been put down by this lovely lady is absolutely brilliant, and I would recommend anybody that watches the film to listen to it with the soundtrack on exactly as it is. Many people will be looking at this and they're saying, oh, I don't have any films as grand as that. But what they do have, they have films like these. And these were all the films that were shot in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and even 80s. And they cover all the periods that we're talking about. They cover lots of history, and they will cover their family's history as well. These films will degrade the same as anything else. And what the machine next to me shows is how these films can be transferred. And the film, for instance, that we've got on here shows an electric car being made. It was run, I don't know, about 1945. It's the second car going along there, and it had batteries put in it. I don't know how that goes as regards histories of motor cars, but you can see just how old it is by how little vehicles there are in Christchurch. So, oh, by the way, that's the old Kaipoi Cinema, I forgot, no, Rialto, that was it, yes. Owen Hills, he built that cinema and he shot these films. So there you are, another piece of history, a little piece of what's going on around you. And as I say, many people watching this are going to have films like this. It may be more modern than this, but they are very, very valuable history. Please, please don't let them go. There are absolutely masses of films like this that are lying around in people's garages, in biscuit tins, in shoe boxes. They're all over the place, and many of them are now being left and just discarded. They may probably even be with the old projector, or they may have had them transferred to a VHS tape, which is now so low in quality and at the point of disappearing itself that the images could be lost forever. And that's the problem. That really, really is the problem. You must preserve these images. You must preserve your memories. Even if you're an elderly person and you think, oh, nobody else really wants to know, I can assure you they do. Would you not want to know about your grandmother? The people in the future most certainly will.
Four years on from the 2010 Canterbury earthquake, the complex recovery of the Waimakariri district remains the number one item on the council agenda.
The rezoning decisions of the government for Christchurch and Kapoi meant that a lot of people were looking for houses in a hurry, and And so that has certainly contributed to the growth of this district. I think the main issues for us have been around that residential growth, but I think more particularly it's been the revival of our two main town centres in Kapoi and Rangiora. Kapoi was badly damaged by the earthquakes, particularly the September quake. Rangiora more recently, around about March of 2012, retail buildings started to be closed because of being earthquake prone as well as being earthquake damaged, and so it's been quite a long haul for both towns to come out of that. There's still a lot of work to go, and in fact in Rangiora we've had a lot more demolitions than we've had rebuilding, although the first building in Central High Street is now underway, and there has been a bit of building around the fringes of the town centre. In Kapoi, as in Rangiora, mixed story, new buildings going up and other buildings coming down or being strengthened. So there's, that's strengthening is certainly part of the story as well. A lot of existing buildings have been strengthened and are much safer than they were.
Temporary retail spaces have become a familiar sight in most earthquake-affected areas. Now, with the recovery underway, what is the future of the pop-up stores?
The shops will hopefully be gone fairly soon once the new buildings go up and the businesses that are in these shops can move back into permanent buildings. The council put them here because it's our land, we control it, and also of course on the road behind me as well, which hasn't been great for traffic movement, but it certainly kept high street businesses alive in High Street.
Rangiora has experienced extremes over the past few years, with many earthquake-damaged buildings facing closure and demolition.
Rangiora had a pretty good 2011 in trading terms, and then through the back end of 2011 and into 2012 we had a succession of building closures, and that was partly because of earthquake-prone building status, and then some buildings with the ongoing shaking tipped over into dangerous. Now we're into a phase of confirmed rebuilds, and the council's projects are starting to come to fruition in terms of public improvements, the Rangiora Town Hall upgrade, the streetscape work is now well advanced in its planning, and so we're looking up. What we've seen is quite a long period of, as everyone in Christchurch has felt in terms of dealing, or experienced in terms of dealing with insurance, and we've had building owners who've never had to come to terms with these issues before that they have done now, and we're into a series of committed rebuilds, particularly the Farmers Department, the kind of anchor store for the High Street, which is really great news. So that's committed for a rebuild as a department store due to open in around first quarter of 2016 now, and that's really turned the corner. At the other end of the town centre, the Rangiora Town Hall has been earthquake strengthened and expanded and extended by the District Council, so that will open early in 2015, providing some great performance venues. Before the quakes, the Dudley Park Aquatic Centre, not far from the High Street, was opened as a swimming facility for the district, so that's a great thing to do when you're coming to the town centre, have a swim, or the other way around. I've mentioned the town hall. We're also progressing the rebuild of the bridge over the Ashley Rakahuri River. That's been a real frustration for people in the Lowburn area, because when it's damaged and when we've got bad weather, it has to be closed. That'll be a complete $10 million rebuild opening before next winter, so that frustration will be eliminated. So that's another kind of good news story for the town. Down in Southbrook, we've got the Pack and Save supermarket project now underway in terms of groundworks, and we're working on traffic improvements to cater for what has been rapid growth in Rangiora in the residential areas, particularly West Rangiora, but also some in the east. So this town is growing. We're seeing some significant names, brand names that are committing to take up accommodation that is being provided on High Street. down the eastern end of High Street into the other side of the main intersection upgrade that we're working on at Redline Corner. The main power site is to be redeveloped, and we'll see significant new business and retail accommodation there, and some pretty big brand names coming to Rangiora for the first time.
Each week I'll be bringing you an update on the development of Silverstream, and I'll be talking to the partner companies who are working hard on making the Silverstream vision a reality. John, tell me about titles. Does everybody have their own individual one?
Yes, they do, as you would normally expect with a home. Even the villas will have their own titles as well.
And you set all that up?
Yes, well, it's much better to have your own title rather than being in a sort of a strata or body corporate situation. I think most people prefer to determine their own destiny.
Well, it's the case of they own it, don't they?
Exactly. So there's no issue. It's exactly what most people would want and expect.
Tell me about the common areas, all the pathways and the wide lawns.
We have a huge amount of reserve space, walkways. I think we have 2.8 kilometres of walkways, mostly along the stream. We have picnic benches, gym fitness stations, which have been specifically designed for an aerobic workout, and we have bicycle tracks. The reserves are maintained by us for the first 2 years, after which time we hand that over to council, and council then maintains all the reserves and common areas, if you like.
So who owns it?
Well, council will own it. We obviously buy it initially, and then we, as part of our of the council requirements, we then dedicate. We have to provide a certain amount of reserve. Well, in this instance, I think we've provided more than what we had to, and we want to, because we want to have. I mean, if you look at this. This is why you would want to buy here.
Are there any covenants, and in which case, if there are, what's involved?
Yes, look, it's really important to put covenants in place, and it's not so that we can play, the big master. It's actually more for the benefit of our community. You imagine, Rob, buying a home and looking at a home that you've invested a lot of money, a whole lot of designs in, and then your next door neighbour goes and puts up a tent. You're not going to be happy about it, are you? So what we do is put covenants in place so that it's fair for everybody, so that you know that your next door neighbour and future next door neighbour and so on right down the street are going to be looking at the same sort of values that you would be putting into your home, which goes from material type, roof pitches, colour, landscaping, all of those sorts of things. It also has time frames attached to it, so you're not living next to somebody who has a bare front yard for 5 years. 10 cars put up on bricks, being fixed in the front yard and so on. So we try and be fair and reasonable across the board, and not for us, but it's for the benefit of those that have got their most valuable material asset in their home, that their next door neighbour and so on respect the street as much as they would.
We've basically done all the surveying and engineering for that job. And Russell and Elliot have been involved for several years now in bringing that to fruition. On the structural side, we've been involved more recently as the job gets into more detailed design. From two sides, we have been building the buildings for the commercial area, designing the buildings for the commercial area, and we've also been designing these structures in support of the civil engineering. That's the buried structures that form part of the drainage and such. We get involved as structural engineers to make sure that they stay hidden.
You've got a lot to offer the region, haven't you?
I think so. I mean, we are a privately owned company, but we have essentially we have three divisions. We have a structures division, construction division, and a civils division, shall we say, and a national project division. And those three divisions sort of morph into the total infrastructure package. In Canterbury, we'd probably work more closely with our structures partners, where we can offer a bridge and a road and a land development job. So it's more there's closer synergy there, and that's one of the reasons why we share our offices. We literally mates, we colleagues, and we run 2 divisions out of this office, which is namely the structures portion and then the civils portion. Yeah.
Makes you quite unique.
Yeah, I think it does make us unique. But we're easy to do business with, and we've got quite a bit of expertise in the heavy civil, and we try and bring that through to our clients, like John and H Investments. We did the structure, we did the small little bridge on stage 1, and we put that in record time. I can't remember how long it took, but I think it was about 4 weeks before the Prime Minister needed to walk over it, and there was no bridge. And it helps when you've got skill and experience in the wings in your own company, that you can just push the button and say, come on lads, let's get going. And they did, so it's it is unique, absolutely.
What are the benefits involved with your company if somebody's adding up where to go and what to do?
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons, yeah.
Well, again, going back to the type of home that we build and the range of homes that we build. So it's probably a bit of an old cliche to say we've got something for everybody, but it's a bit of a philosophy that Mike Greer himself has had, is that there's a wide gamut of people out there. That we know that the market is under pressure at the moment and it's pushing prices up. So Mike's made a concerted effort to try and work and come up with product or homes that will appeal and provide a brand new opportunity for people to enter into a brand new home right down as low as the early 300s. So I think one of the biggest benefits is that when you walk in the door, there's no preconceived notions that you've got to have a 600k budget or a 400k budget. We really do have homes that are lovely first homes, investment homes, or homes for older people right down at that early 300s. People have realised that a lot of the existing homes that they're looking at with their budget, and they may have gone to the bank and been pre-approved for 400,000, say, and they go out and spend a lot of time shopping around, getting more and more disillusioned, because what they're looking at is 30, 40, 50 years old, probably got quite a few problems with it, never dreaming that they could actually have a new home. And it's a bit of a revelation when they start to shift their focus, and they'll often just pop in and say, we're just wondering if what could we do, and they're delighted to know that they can have a brand new home.